All right. I think we're on yet again. Woo. Okay. I'm just going to switch to my iPad view. Boop. Good. Boop. All right, cool. Shoop. Let's get into it. Hopefully this is working. Yeah. Alright, so today I wanted to do a creature of the wild type. That was my line of inspiration. And I have a character idea that is where I want them to be almost not human at all. Whoop. I want them to be not human at all, and they have some sort of massive, weird familiar. Maybe something like without eyes or near eyes. Whoop, whoop. So I have this little character sketch. I think I'm going to do another. It's from the idea that it has like multiple legs coming down, kind of a wide chest, very bug themed, but I also found these weird as flip mushrooms and wanted to use that partially. So I'm going to do something like that. Now I think I want to try the other angle where it's heavy on bottom and large on the top. We could do something fairly freaky over here. And I'm thinking something very with like a lost shell, either lobster themed or themed after something with a multitude of legs. Asymmetry is a great way to give off mutant vibe. Whoop, I accidentally did that. Staff, and then an extra arm doing nothing, or extra arm grabbing for superior grip. We'll give it a lot of legs. I think this gal over here is wearing a cloak partially. We'll have this critter. I think this person will have a lot of spiders. I'm gonna do that arm. Maybe I'll do nothing with that arm. There we go. It'd be cool if they were like humanized, but they're stretched across into bugness. Oh, I accidentally. There we go. And then maybe like a giant flea type creature would be interesting. Yeah. And that's my face exploding. Which is fine, that happens. Ah! Ow. Dogs are flipping out because a mailman is delivering a scary box, and that's not allowed. Yeah, this could be fairly interesting. If we had spikes branching outward up here, that could be fairly cool. Okay, let's do some blocking, I think. Could jump to my pencil, and I'm want to start on this guy. It reminds me a little bit of like a Hollow Knight design so far, which can happen. And I think I want her to have very bug. It might be better if she had some teeth and then very ribbed here. I want these to be branching, which would be good. I think they should be straighter, more like spikes. Shoop. In the sketch, I had a very triangular upper body here, and then lots of smaller legs here. We can give her little tiny feet. It'd be good if they split off in some places. So I'm gonna do that. And she's going to make a lot of noise when she moves around, skittering about. I like that. I think that's interesting. Arm-wise, I could give her quite humanoid limbs. Well, hands anyway. We'll flip that for this pose. I think that's fairly interesting. Nope. Nope. And out. And necking it out. I'll come back to that. I'm gonna switch over to this dude. And I'm thinking multitude of eyes would be good. It'd actually be better if the shell came all the way up his back, I think. And then really started folding over here for his, around this part. Gives me like the vibes of a dungeon keeper, almost. And then we'll give him like a ton of legs. We could give a lot of muscle warping down into this. And then we'll have his tail curl around here. If I wanted to go lobster, I would give him a tail, but I think I'm gonna stick with more of the bug ending, which means I'm going to give him a nice horned tail, which I think could be fairly interesting. Not like that though. We'll give him one segment here. Whoop. There we go. I like that. We'll give him a lot of nice segments. And maybe over one side, the shell has completely come over and he just has a couple of little weird bug limbs sticking out. But on the other, he still has a human arm left over that hasn't been pulled away yet. And then we'll give him one hand, and then maybe we could give him a weird, horrifying hand here. If we moved the joint a little bit lower, that could be fairly interesting. We'll move this whole thing in. Nope, not with that. We'll move this whole thing in a bit. Ah. Nice. I like the shape of that quite a bit, I think. Could jump to another layer and do some sort of walking staff doodad. Boop. There we go. That's pretty nice, I think. Ooh. Horrible and veiny, and maybe a couple of those. Ooh, actually it'd be better if it pointed downward, like extra pieces. I think I like that. Let's jump back to the other guy and fix him, because he's not, there's some aspects I like, but not all of them. So we're going to I think I'm going to focus on this guy for a second. And my first thoughts was something quite salamandery. Barely any eyeballs here. We'll give him a nice long mouth for the length. That's nice. I think we could do something weird here. We'll give him... Actually, it's kind of it on its own. I'm gonna look up snail feet. Oop, excuse me, bug. Excuse me, bug. Snail foot. Because they have one, it's called one big foot, and it's wiggly like that. Yeah, I think we could go this angle. We'll give extra frills around here. We'll move his head so he's not crossing all that stuff. We'll do a little bit of cleanup. Yes. Eye divot, but no actual eye would be perfect. I think in the end result, I want this guy to be quite veiny and pink. Good. We'll jump up to another layer and start messing with this guy. I think I'm going to no. We'll just start with that for a second. We could do 2 main limbs that perhaps once long ago were regular and now have morphed and become very slim. And then we'll have lots of extra legs that have veered off as bug tendrils. Very nice. No, I like that. I like that a little more. I feel like they're not long enough, so I'm actually going to pull them up a bit. And that could work. And I think we'll make her wearing an odd skull type. And I undid that because whatever. The skull itself is an amalgamation. Bug shell mixed with bone. There we go, and we can have the jaw hanging down. That would be cool. But first I'm going to give some neck in here, and then we'll have the jaw hanging down. Not that angle. Yeah, I actually don't like this hat or how it's coming out. Nope, not like that. We'll go up a bit, give her a nose for placement. She's looking off at an angle, which is making it difficult. I just realized his head's massive. Anyway, making it difficult to design it, but I think I want to show off an angle because it's going to give us a better understanding of what it looks like, a better structure, if that makes sense. Am I forgetting how skulls work? I think I am forgetting in real time. Whoop, whoop. And then we'll do that. Cool, we'll have ears peeking out left over from that. Cool. And then we'll have that head coming off to one side. I like that. That's pretty nice. I'm gonna flip it and realize it's horribly offset, which is good. We'll have, I still want to do her wings peeking down from underneath, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Let's do a better hand pose with this. Good, holding something creepy or weird like a candle. Yes, that'll give nice light for painting later. So, cool. We can make her wings odd shaped. Like that. Maybe they're morphed into each other. Sweet. I think I need to jump to a different layer to better design these, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to jump to a different layer, and then I'm going to put in a cloak of some sort. Yeah, that could be fairly interesting. Shoop. Gonna erase that, bring it down. Good. Erase a bit more. Little hard to see what's happening here, so I need to fix that. Step up. There we go. I'm going to leave that sitting there for a minute and jump back to this handsome man over here. I think I want to jump down this layer for one thing. Whoop, whoop. Because I feel like this is interesting. I want to do a little bit of blocking before I start out so I can get a better shape in. And I think I still want his neck to be quite wide here. We can morph that a little bit. I like that. We'll jump down, do a bit of rework. And we can start on these bug shells, which I think are going to be fairly cool. There we go. Cool. It'd be cool if that was mushed a little bit. And I'm thinking these are going to be completely blacked out with shines in them. Like it's a multitude of bug eyes. Go, 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 go. I like that, but I don't like the snows. Maybe it's pulled tight and flattened down entirely, so we'll do that. Be good if there were wrinkles, like this took up a bunch of, squished all the other parts of his face away. And then we'll work in these. Yeah. That's fairly interesting. Good, and then we're going to have some uneven antenna up here. And the tops of the ones I'm thinking of are fuzzy, kind of like that of a moth. Then they'll connect down here, squishing the skin away. Yeah, that could be pretty cool. I want there to be folding, vaguely muscly flesh here that's partially peeking out from underneath bug plates, which is my vision. We're gonna go over here and work on this arm for a bit. Keep it segmented and interesting. That hand's massive. I very often draw hands massive. I bet a lot of people, once they learn to draw hands, they're just like, oh, all hands are now gigantic. For a long while. Then you spend the rest of the time making them smaller. I'm gonna have this part sticking out. And this one's gonna be bony and weird, I think. I think it's better if we have that gap. Maybe I want to bring this back down. It's a little better. Ah, that's not the one I wanted. Cool. I like that, I think, where that's going. Work on these fold muscles. Yeah. I'm gonna jump to a different layer and start working on these plates. Ideally, I want them to come down around like that. So I think we're gonna start off with this plate. Gonna be ridged like that. Nope. Come around like that. Yeah, I like that. Boop, boop. Cool. And then I'm going to do this nice horned part here. Yeah. Looks off. I don't know why it looks off. That's cool. And then let's get some stretched odd plates up here. I want them to be coming apart kind of in a strange way, because they're not made to morph over this section of the body. There we go. It's cool. Yeah, I like that. We'll have a little bit of an extra plate. And what's cool about this is it can kind of mimic armor, I think. Yeah. Get a few of these nice legs in there. Nice. We'll do a few more legs, and this is the time when I wish I had a leg brush. I'm gonna spend like 30 minutes making a leg brush so I can just use it here. That would be silly. We'll add a couple of more legs on this back ribbing here. Most of them aren't touching the ground, but these ones are. Cool. We'll get a couple of cute little bug nibs over here. Oh wait, I did that wrong. Oh, I forgot to work on this part. Do I want bare shoulder? I think I actually want bare shoulder, because it shows off the detailing more and that'd be better for coloring. So I'll do that. I'll draw in his staff. I want this staff to be made out of warbled wood. Warm. Good, and we'll add some nice lines in here to indicate a gem of some sort. Do some combining with the underlayer. Cool. All right, and neat. That arm is very long now that I'm looking at it from afar, but I like it. I'm gonna leave it. I'll add a little bit more detail. We'll erase this line because it looks odd. I'm gonna flip, I'm gonna look at it, I'm gonna decide to add another plate here. I'm gonna mess with this some more because I still don't like it. And I think I'm going to change the shape up entirely because it's not working. Yes, and then we could add some spikes that are gradually getting shorter as they go up. That's cool. Kind of gives me Grunkle vibes. Cool. I like that. Do I want to add spikes up there? No. I want to show the smooth shell, and I'd like to make it ribbed. I think that'd be pretty cool. But I do want to add a nice extra spike there. And I want them to be pointing down towards the arms. Like they're just nasty bone tendrils are just constantly growing. That'd be good. Okay. Set this background color and then lay a little bit of flats. For the heck of it. Boop, boop. Remove. Did I do this a silly way? I did. So we're going to do it the other way. There we go. There we go. And going around. Whoop. Ah. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yep. And that's a silhouette. I'm going to jump to some muscle looks. Muscle. Medical. There, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, that's a good color reference. I'm going to snatch that and bring it in. Drop it. Plop. There we go. I'm aiming for this. So we got like a lot of deep, musky reds. We'll use Eagle Hawk, and it looks like I'm gonna start with something like this. I think I basically want to accentuate where the muscles attach to each other to make it look like a bunch of separate pieces. And then we'll do some sort of contrasty bug part on top. I want to layer a few colors in before I start detail work, because it makes color picking later a lot easier if you already have a variety of tones on the canvas. So we'll do that. And I'm just loosely following the contour of the muscles I've drawn in. And I'll go in and do some defining work in a minute. And then we're going to snatch this bone white. And we're going to put it at the tips of these for one thing. And then, where does it look like it goes? We'll have some here. A little bit there. We'll jump to a more saturated white in a minute. I think it's going to have one down the central strip, so to say. And we'll do a bit in here and in there. Yes. Mildly. And then we'll do some other detailing around. Probably I want to go in with this red or this grayish sad color. And start going around here with it. I know his face is stretched out, but then we switch to the teeth sticking out here, and I think I want to start with red on that. Yeah. And then we're going to do a dark contrasty color for the shell here. What do my references look like? They're gone. They're gone now. I had this iridescent type stuff. I think I want to start with a darker color to contrast the red. I'll start out with this burgundy type color I have. Go, 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 go. And we'll color everything mildly bug related with it, and then we'll come in with some shading. I think I'm actually going to start out with a brighter color, and then I'll do shading just to make coloring in a little easier on myself, flats. Cool. Just start up here, color that in. Good. I originally was planning on doing two guys, but I've gotten completely enthralled by this one over here. And that happens sometimes. That's okay. Oh, I almost forgot him. He almost got lost. like that. I think I want, I'm not sure how I'm going to do the hands. Either I'm going to can leave them fleshy, or I'm going to make them look segmented like they are more shells. And I think I'm going to first try doing the hands in red. I've had them on different layers so I could mess around with other colors other than this burgundy color. I think it does make it stick out a bit, but I also feel like it doesn't match correctly. I'm going to do the edging up here in this color, blend out a bit. And then I'm going to mess around with the color and see if I could find one that I like a bit more. Oh, green. That's nice. Neat. Purple. Red. I like this color. I think I gravitate towards this color a lot when I'm doing bugs, but I think it's just because it looks good when it's made to be shiny. Yeah. Switch back down to the muscles, and then I'm going to do some more in-depth shading here. And I think I'm going to start by selecting muscles that I want here, and then coloring, oh, how dare you, and then coloring them in a way that works. I'll start with this guy. My goal is, of course, to make it look like it has depth, so I want the middle part of the muscle to look like it's sticking out, while the rest of the muscle is going in underneath. And we have this white, which we can kind of brush along the connecting edges. I'm going to grab this color, and I'm going to do, not like that. This is not what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a couple of lines here. Yeah. I like that. Going to do the main largest pieces first. Oh, not like that. And then, now that I have done my first muscle here, I can do some color picking. Whoop, and we'll go in with this. I think this white looks great here. Do a little bit of work this way, and I'm going to grab this color and do a couple of, not like that, do a couple of detail lines throughout. Yes. Good, we're going to do this throat piece. Gonna snatch that. Now I'm gonna work along here to get these pieces in. Nope. Good. What's funny is I don't think I've ever colored in muscle before like this. So it's interesting where various character designs could take you. Oop. And I keep zooming out just because I feel like with each edition it brings the whole look together even more. I think for here I need a deeper red because it's going underneath and things are naturally going to start getting darker here. And I'll come back in with a shading layer, but I like to color like it is. It makes it look better in the final product. And we should transition into, I still want to be fairly fleshy under here, but we should transition into more of a cavernous look here, I think. And I need to back off and do that. Yes. Put a little bit in the middle. Because here the main thing we want to be focusing on will be the bug legs once we get that fully colored in and shimmery. Oh, nope, not like that. There we go. Okay, we're gonna go back up and do this side of the musculature. Gonna grab that. Good, and we're gonna snatch. Nope. We're gonna do some more work on these arms. We'll start here, I think, because it has a nice part where it folds in. Nope, that's the wrong thing, Bob. I want to do some detail up around the hand. good. And up here, I'm going to do a little bit of white now when it starts connecting to things. We'll grab this deep red, play around with it a little bit here and there. Cool. Cool. Like that. Nope. There we go. Hmm. Okay. Nope, not that. I need a sketch brush. Whoop. There we go. Cool. And I think would be good if I actually had a little bit of line work here, showing the muscle fibers a bit more. That'd be good. Same thing here. I'm gonna snatch up this darker red, gonna make that even darker, and do more detail work around here with the brush. blend everything a bit. Nope, I didn't want to do that, but I did, so. Cool. Deepen that out. Nope. There we go. Like that quite a bit. I think that's pretty cool. I'm gonna do some work on his face. And I think I'm actually gonna come in first with a bony color. More bony. Yes. Nope. And then we'll do that. Mm-hmm. Good. I want to put teeth pits around this area. That would be good. We'll do a little bit of definition around here. Nice. Okay. I want redness around these eyes. I'll bring that color back in so that we can do some shimmery pieces. Mm-hmm. We'll bring it right at the tip of the nose because my idea is being kind of stretched across the face. Gotta do some overpainting for them. Otherwise, pretty good. Alright, so for this, for the shell, I'm going to start with some top shading, and I'm going to shade in the bottom part. It'll be fairly loose, not very clean, but it will start giving us some dimension, which would be good. We'll come in, shade down these spikes. My goal is to make the shell look iridescent here. So, which means we'll need very deep colors and very dramatic highlights. Come in. Good. And then we'll give a highlight on this side. We'll define it more later. Cool, we'll do one up here. And the last thing we gotta do is work on this staff. I think I'm gonna make it mainly brown. I gotta do some erasing. Oh, I have to. There we go. Nope. Yes. Good. Work in a few. Work in some color variation. I want that to be less saturated. That'd be better. Good. I think there's actually some more gaps here that I didn't notice when I was doing the flats. Cool. Good. Vary it a little more. Good. I like that. Okay, I think I'm going to start on some multiply layer now. Oh, yeah. We'll start on a multiply layer now. I think I'm gonna go warm. And I want the sunlight to be pointing at the shells for best reflection, so our light will be coming from here. I'll erase, multiply, and I think I actually want that layer to be redder. Yeah, that's better. And then we'll start with some of that. I need to turn that down a bit so I can actually see what I'm doing here. If you're struggling seeing your layer underneath, you could just turn down your multiply layer. I mean, you could turn it to normal so you could actually see the color, and then you can get in there with your shading. There we go. And then we'll get a little bit over here. And we'll come back in with details in a second. Shade this, turn that on. Teeth. And now we'll get to do some muscle definition, which is what I've spent the most time on so far. I think we'll do large swaths. A lot of the muscles down here will be shaded because they're not facing the light and they're covered up by this great bug shell. We'll go in like that. Whoop. Yeah, I like that. We want to be a bit rounder on the shading on these. And yeah. Cool, we'll set that back to multiply, shade it down, and then we're going to do another layer of shading. And I think we're going to do a darker color, more saturation. And we'll start doing the deep shadows. Good. It's going to be in between each of these, I think. We'll do some here. Boop. Nice. Is this clipping? Clip. There we go. Do underneath. For a bit of definition. There we go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Cool. And then we're going to do these guys. And we want to make them look round, so we're going to do that. We'll also do some separation work between these. I think in the last layer I actually want to do a little bit finer erasing on these doodads. Not like that, that's wrong. Okay. Shade that out. Do slightly more right here. Some separation. Cool. And then we'll hit multiply. I think I want to jump in and do a bit of blending in some areas. I'm using grunge right now, which works if you want a nice varied textured blend. And I think it certainly works well on top of this. There we go. Whoop. And I want to highlight all of these ridges on the edge of the shells, so we're gonna do that. Cool. My dogs are barking again. I got things to bark at, you know. Oh yeah, I forgot to hit clipping. There we go. Good, good. Right on the edge of this. And I think I'm going to flip to, not ob, I'm going to flip to eagle. So that I can do some more gradient shading. Yeah, I like that. And we'll do an extra layer of the same type. Maybe greenier. It'd work better if my brush wasn't as rough, because when it's rough, it's too much of a broken line. And that might be for painting later. And we'll point out these ridges in these legs. I'm gonna have a lot of these nibs highlighted. Not like that. Ridge, ridge, nib. Ah, good. And before I forget, I want to do this gem here, which I'm going to help myself along by selecting. Nope, not like that. Good. And this time, I'm going to start with some mob. Go. We'll deepen that. Nope. I think I need to fix this edge here. There we go. Stop doing that. Oh, it's because you're stuck on alpha lock. There we go. Good. And then I'll switch to Eagle Hawk. Something brighter would be better. Cool. bunch. Ow. And switch into bony color, and then going on the right layer. Still on the wrong layer. Why? That's why. Cool. And we'll shade out these eyes before we move on. Okay. You're normal. It would be better if we switched you to, yeah. Good. And before we combine all the shading together, I want to do some color shifting on this shell here. More like overlays, so I can get more variation out of it before I start painting. And I think I'm going to start off with this green. I'm going to unclipping mask this so that I can clip this to that, so I can get variation. And I want maybe a nice purple here at the end of the tail. So we'll do that. Good, very Halloween-y. And then we'll flip to overlay. Probably want to, not that. Probably want to blur that a smidge, up it. And then we can turn everything back onto clippings. Cool. I like that. Now I can combine the flats. We got double multiplies, a screen layer, and an add layer. Cool. And then we'll jump up and do some final work. I think I'm going to color the line art here before I start. And I can color it a deep burgundy to make it a bit easier. And then jump up and do some hand painting. Ooh, nope, with a smaller brush. And I'm going to start by the stuff that's near the light. I'm going to paint away. Good. Like that. We're going to fix this funny gap here. And then, Good. We're going to grab this color for eye wrinkles. I'm going to snatch this red color for nostrils. Good. We'll do some definition on the teeth, which is always good. Need teeth that are well defined. Good. And what I'm going to do here is grab a slightly lighter color and make very tight circles in here. And then I'll come back in and shine. I'm going to do it the other way actually. I'm going to put in some shine on each little tiny eyeball. And actually put a few smaller ones in the gaps if there's room as well. They should look like a ton of polyps sticking out. Good, and we'll get the brightest one there is and do tiny, tiny little dollops on these polyps. The smidgest of dollops. And now we're going to grab this color, lighten it a bit, and add a little bit of skin definition right around these eyes. We'll zoom out a bit, give us a frame of reference, and do a little bit more work around this definition. Good. I hate looking at it. Excellent. I'm going to grab this and do a little bit of feathering up here. Just a little. Doesn't need a lot, I don't think. And I think I actually want to do some highlights around these folds here. And tone down these darker lines. I'm going to grab that, add shading where it needs it. And I'm going to grab some color picking. Nope. Fix this ear. Now I'm going to add a little bit of white to the edge of these, just to make sure they're defined. Going to grab this red. I like that corner, so we're going to add that. Nice We'll add a little bit of line work, a little bit more line work to the arms. Cool. I need to come down here and work on these bug legs a little. The liner is already gone, so that's fine. Have a bigger bug leg here. Yeah. Cool. I'm gonna jump to this stuff and add. I want there to be a thought that there's ridges that exist here in this shell. And I think I'll accomplish that just by grabbing the colors I put down here and putting in some ridges. I think that does what I want it to do fairly well. I'll even add this white and put in a few shimmers around. Yeah. I like that. That's cool. I think I need to get in the darkest color here. Just to add the right amount of dimension. Because from afar it doesn't look quite like I want it to. It does look like pulps, but it also reminds me of like beans. Like a ton of beans. Which is definitely something. Good. I like to add these little highlights kind of around the darkest areas around here. That just helps it pop. Does it make perfect sense why? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because it almost is like fake backlighting, almost. I'm going to turn off this other stuff because I don't want to look at it right now. I'm actually going to move it over so I could save it for later if I ever wanted to develop that. Probably not, but you never know. No, that's not what I want. I'm going to move this guy down a bit. And then I'm going to give it a background color. Okay, I'm actually going to go in with a dark color, and then I'm gonna start carving out kind of a background for where it can stand on. Something fairly simple, but I feel like doing it. Maybe it's hanging out in like a cave of some sort. And we can do that. I'm using gray so I can easily hit it with a gradient map later. And then I'll do black. Do a little bit of cutting. There wouldn't be any light in front of him if he's backlit. No. I need to come in with some white so that I can put in a little bit of a light. And then I think I'm going to, not like that. Nope, nope, stop that. Blur it a little. And then I'll come in on a different layer. He's sitting on a stark black background, which isn't what I'm going to do forever, I don't think. And then I'm going to add a bit more definition to these as rocks, I think. Corners and whatnot. Nope. I think the vest one, kind of like that. I'm going to duplicate and start messing with it. I think what I like about it is this yellow that's coming in and the overall desaturation of it. And I don't know if I want that to be black. Black gives a lot of contrast though. I'm going to start putting in some more shading. I think specifically I'm going to now put in some kind of rock type, ideally. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just kind of messing around at this point. I think it's because I want to put him on a background of some sort. Because I like him quite a bit, but he's just not backgrounding. Get out of here. Maybe I'll just do something simple with some lighting. Vague lighting. Not like that. If I could do clip, jump, clipping mask. I could do maybe a ring light type thing. Go, 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 go. It's tiny. And I'll jump under and do a shading light type thing, something very simple, just like that maybe. Nope. Cool. I can start out with okay. I like him. I like this character a lot. I think he's very interesting. There's a lot of aspects that I like. I think the staff is a bit goof. But I really like the flayed look along with the bug eyes and the beans. I think I want, if I ever draw this character again, I think I'd want to make the ribbing move up to his head in some way. Like he had shell on his head, or if he had more muscles on his face. I should have pulled up a flayed face so that I could see the musculature of that. But I think that'll do it for today. Thank you for joining me, and have a great day.